Thursday, June 7, 2016. And if we all could stand for a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Secretary, may I please have roll call?
Marlon Milner. Livia Brady. Here. Valerie Scott Cooper. Hakeem Jones. Here. Heather Lewis.
Here.
Derek Perry. Here. Sonia Sanders.
Here. Would a member of council like to make a motion to approve the meeting minutes of the council workshop held on May 17th of 2016? So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. The ayes have it. This motion, the motion for the approved minutes are approved. Earlier this evening, we had executive session pertaining to legal matters.
Actually, more specifically, it was litigation.
Mr. Solicitor. Next order of business we have is the presentation for Special Cultural Events Committee.
Does this work? Oh, okay. So, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for allowing me to speak in front of you this evening. I am representing the special committee, the special event committees. As you know, we have undertaken the task of organizing the 4th of July parade and collaborate with Parks and Recreation and the zoo in the festivities throughout the day. We are asking for council to approve a variance to allow food trucks and a beer garden operated by licensed bartenders using the zoo liquor license. Huh? We would like for council, we're asking of council to approve a variance to allow for us to have food trucks selling food that day and a beer garden using the liquor license from the zoo.
Where's the beer garden proposed to be? Is that going to be in Elmwood Park? Is that
Yes.
where whereabouts? I mean, I see the food trucks are lined up in the same vicinity, and
Yes, the food trucks are going to be on Harry Boulevard on the side of the park, and then the beer garden is going to be towards the baseball field.
Thank you. Has a vendor been chosen for the beer garden, or is this approval that you're asking us for to open for any particular vendor? And when the vendor has been chosen, what kind of licensing or approvals are going to be coming towards us to let us know that this is a viable vendor for beer sales?
We will be using the zoo's liquor license, so the zoo is going to be the one selling the beer.
Okay, well, my question is, do we have time frame, since we know that typically it's dusk, it's supposed to be off on the fireworks, so do you have a time frame when it's going to start and when it's going to end?
Well, the parade is going to start at 10, and then everything else is going to start at noon.
And when do you expect the vendors to be finished?
The vendors, well, we're thinking the vendors could be throughout until the fireworks starts.
So you're saying they would end right prior to the fireworks?
Yes.
So my question is, the vendors,
Well, at this point, the one contacting the vendors is Alzon, and for that, he's looking at people who have licenses, because we want people to be handled, the food people, in a clean manner. So hopefully he's looking for local vendors.
So again, your motion is just asking for approval for the vendors of the beer garden and the trucks.
The food trucks, yes.
It's actually a request to waive ordinance number 2010-11, which is, no, I'm sorry, that's a different one. But it is to allow for food trucks and a beer garden. The other thing that I should also mention is that one of the things that's happening as a part of the committee's work with the Recreation Department is that they are going to direct a portion of the funds that the vendors are going to collect, and a portion of those funds will be directed to the recreation services for the municipality.
Thank you, Mr. Councilman Brady.
So, excuse me, I'm hearing that the waiving of the food trucks is similar to what we did for the county. And also, I understand that in the past, we had allowed for a beer garden at Elmwood Park Zoo a couple of years ago when they had the bike race here. So it's not a totally unknown entity for us to do this.
That's correct.
So, would a member of council like to make a motion to waive the fees for the food trucks and the beer garden held for the 4th of July festivities?
You're actually waiving the ordinance that prohibits food trucks.
I second. All in favor? Aye. The ayes have it. That motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Madam Secretary, Vice President Airy, do we have any announcements this evening?
No, we do not. Anyone has any announcements? Councilman Jones?
Yes, good evening. Just wanted to make an announcement regarding a job recruitment resource. Manpower will be at the PA Career Link on 1855 New Hope Street. They will be there this Thursday, June 9th, from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. They will be looking to fill positions in the administrative, secretarial, call center and customer service, logistics, distribution and supply chain, manufacturing and production, along with sales. So this Thursday, the PA Career Link will be open to the public. All they ask is that you bring 2 forms of ID and consent to get your criminal background done, as well as a drug test.
Thank you, Councilman Jones. Any other announcements? Madam Secretary, do we have any public comments?
No, we don't.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, do we have any communications?
No, we don't.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Moving on to the order of business, we have Mr. Solicitor, who will provide us with the short summary of what the tax settlement agreement pertains to.
Thank you very much. Several months back, the council approved another part of this agreement. If council may remember, about a dozen years ago, council filed a lawsuit against Stuart Ward, BCI, who was the company that Stuart Ward dealt with, and other members related to the LeBlanc administration era in Norristown. Mr. Ward was convicted of larceny and stealing money from Norristown. Norristown sued the company, and unfortunately, the wheels of justice spin slowly. And 12 years later, we have a settlement where Norristown is set to receive about $50,000. Part of the conditions of that settlement is approving these releases, and one of them is for BCI, and that is the motion that's before council this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Solicitor. Excuse me. Would a member of council like to make a motion to approve the settlement agreement between the municipality of Norristown and Brokerage Concepts?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. The ayes have it. That motion carries. Mr. Solicitor, we have item B.
Yes, thank you very much, Madam President. If you may remember, several months back, Norristown Council approved a land development related to Royal Farms, which is going in the Logan Square shopping center. There was also zoning relief granted by the municipality. There was a protestant that was not happy with the relief that was granted and sued both the zoning hearing board and the municipality. The municipality, of course, has supported the project and would like to, and what's before you is a motion to authorize my law firm to join with the zoning hearing board solicitor, Mr. Saraceni, on defending the municipality and the zoning hearing board's interests in Royal Farms.
Thank you, Mr. Solicitor. Would a member of council like to make a motion to authorize the solicitor to support and defend the Norristown zoning hearing board's decision in KKR Investments versus Norristown Borough and Norristown zoning hearing board number 2016-09009? Discussion and question. All in favor? Aye. Any nays? Hearing none, the ayes have it, and that motion is approved.
Excuse me, Madam President. It was brought to my attention that there was no sheet to sign up, and this resident wanted to speak.
May you please come forward?
Hi, name's Ann Kniffer, 711 Noble Street. About a week ago, we had a car. We have a lot of speeders on my block, and it doesn't even go through to Sturger. So about a week ago, a car came through and crashed on the corner of Oak and Noble. And it was sideways, and it hit the cars on the right side of the road, and it went to the left side of the road, and hit two cars belonging to the same person. 50 to 60 miles an hour was estimated. Yes, and we get the speeders a lot, especially on motorcycles. So my proposal or question is, can we get speed bumps put in occasionally, streets here and there to stop people from doing this? There's a lot of kids in my neighborhood, and thank God the girls walked out of it. They climbed out the door that was facing upward, but I have a picture on my phone, and I submitted it to the Times Herald. I hope that, I didn't see it in print yet, but I was there and I took pictures, and it's just an awful problem. I've asked for speed bumps before. I don't know how much they cost. Maybe we can do like a collection per block or something. If there's any kind of reason why we couldn't have one, I'd like to know that too. Also, one thing about the vendor trucks, I guess you guys are overriding some provision says we're not allowed to have vendor trucks. We have ice cream trucks all over the place. Are they not food trucks? Is it different?
They're regulated differently by the County Board of Health, yes.
But it's not food? Is it considered a food truck?
The way the ordinance is written for food trucks is different than it is for mobile ice cream vendors.
Okay.
That's
great. Is there any way you can get them to change their music or turn it down when they're? It's so annoying when they're there for 15 minutes or more. I just want to like scream, but anyway, thank you. That's all I wanted to say.
Before you leave, if you would mind standing there. Chief Talbot, if you wouldn't mind, if you could get additional information from her, please follow up.
Sure.
All right, thank you.
I did hear it was a Norristown-wide problem from the police that were there. It's not just my block, so maybe we can get something together. Your block too? Yeah. You hear it all the time, right? It's all the time. The revving engines. Well, this time they got caught, but they didn't get hurt. But I was able to go take a picture because of the horrific accident that they caused. But, oh, one more thing. Since I have 3 minutes, my last car was wiped out by somebody who was uninsured and unlicensed, and it wasn't even their car. 2 painters got out, didn't speak a word of English. I haven't done anything. I'm afraid to go to the owner of the car because I don't know if, they're gonna like target me. But is there any kind of program that like gives money to people who are hit by this kind of a person?
I'm not sure.
There used to be state programs. I know there's one in Delaware. But we have a lot of, I guess, uninsured drivers in Norristown. I didn't have a collateral insurance. It was an old car.
Well, under your own policy, usually you have a rider for uninsured drivers in case you get hit by an uninsured driver.
Yeah, I didn't have that part of the insurance, so they denied it. But it's an older car, you only want the minimum insurance, and it wasn't worth it to keep the whole policy. But, there you go, you lost everything. And I don't even know what happened to this person, if they just got a citation or what. What happens to them, do you know?
So it would depend on whether they had a license or whether they were in fact insured. We would do an investigation to find out.
Okay, on my police report, no insurance, no license, and it belonged to somebody else.
They would receive a bunch of citations for it.
Just a cite. Do you know how much it is?
Not offhand. There's a sliding fee if you don't have insurance, depending on how many times.
Could you charge the citation and then reimburse the driver who's got involved with the accident?
I'd like to, but that's not the way the law works.
Can we change it? You can change the law. Just add in that fee, a couple $1,000s. That's all I'm asking. All right, thanks.
Thank you.
I can hear you guys tonight, though.
Good. So the next order of business we have is...
Councilwoman Brady has a question.
Councilwoman Brady.
Actually, this question was for the solicitor based on the comment we had regarding the speed bumps. I know this isn't the first time I'm hearing it. I know we have this problem on our street as well, and I see Councilman Perry nodding his head emphatically about his street as well, and others have done. Do we have any ordinances in place that prohibit or allow for speed bumps on public roads? And is this something that maybe we could look into?
I think it depends on the road. Chief can also comment about that. PennDOT only allows you to do a certain amount of traffic controls. You'd have to talk about which roads you wanted identified. We would have to basically do a study related to that. And there are some municipalities that do speed control measures on small roads. Usually it's really not speed bumps at this point, it's usually speed tables. That's what I've kind of seen in a lot of other places. But if that's something council was interested in, they could talk to them, they could direct the manager to move forward, looking forward, in a project like that.
Thank you, Mr. Solicitor. Next order of business we have is the Municipal Administrator for item A, and that's in regards to ordinance 2010-11.
Thank you, Madam President. In your package, I copied you on a letter from an email from PennDOT, the project manager who's in charge of the 510 project Markley Street, which is basically the section of Markley Street now that will go from Harding Boulevard to the bridge. The request is for allowance of nighttime work to conduct a couple of types of activities over the course of the 2 years of construction of that section of the project. and what they're requesting is 6 to 10 nights of work over the course, intermittently spread over the course of that 2-year period. The first item would be for the construction of precast pavement at the intersection of Main and Markley Street, and which is going to require the closing of traffic lanes and would be nightmare during the day. Also would add significant amounts of time delays and cost to the project. The second would be the running of bypass pumps for the sanitary sewer that's going to be relocated by the sewer authority as a part of the project as well. As you did with the first project, and as we do typically with most projects that involve lengthy construction, the council has the authority to waive its ordinance, which is Ordinance 20-11, that regulates noise. And so what they're interested in doing is just being able to extend the work on that, particularly around the Main Street and Markley area, beyond the norm, so that they can get those projects done within that specified period of time.
Thank you, Mr. Solicitor. Councilwoman Brady.
Thank you. Mr. Jones, I didn't find anything in the packet regarding the specific times that the nighttime closures would occur. And my reason for bringing this up is we have a community that has a large percentage of construction workers whose time frames start relatively early in the morning. I am familiar with some nighttime hours being until 6 a.m., which would severely impact the ability for these construction workers to get to their jobs because they typically start earlier. What are the time frames that they're considering doing this nighttime work?
They didn't specify in their request, but we know that the ordinance prevents work between 7:30 p.m. and 8 a.m. And so I would presume that if council decides it wants to limit it before that 7:30, I mean that 7 a.m. time, you can set and specify the hours that you desire. In this instance, if there's a 6 a.m. or 6:30 challenge, you set it at 5 a.m. or 5:30 a.m. as you deem fit.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Councilman Brady.
With the construction that's going to be done in this area, how are they constructing the area itself when they're, is it going to be just like the top of Market Street?
There are going to be a number of different installations that's going to be a part of it. There's going to be some widening, a little bit of widening, obviously. They're going to create, I know, at the intersection of Markley and Main. There's going to be the creation, really, of double turn left lanes off of Markley onto Main Street, heading west. Off Markley onto Main. So coming out for the bridge to turn left onto Main, there are going to be double left turn lanes there. There's also the installation, as you know, Council spent a good deal of time talking with them about the traffic controls and train notification controls. So those are going to definitely be installed per Council's direction. We spent a good deal of time, actually, the federal government sided with us against them in terms of the requirements. So there's going to be that, those traffic controls. But it is really the goal is for traffic smoothing and to help create a flow from on both routes, on both directions of Markley.
So if we were to go ahead and approve this waiver, how would the constituents be aware of when the actual construction works will be taking?
Every time, we actually routinely now get notices, for instance, for the work that's going on around town now. We get notices, we post those notices on our social media, on our website. Certainly for any residents who sign up both for our app and now for Ready Notify, they'd automatically get those notifications as well. So we routinely put that information out because the Department of Transportation actually sends us no less than a week in advance what next week's closures would be, next week's delays would be, and where they are. And so we routinely post that information.
So for those constituents that do not have internet or are on social media, any way we could advertise this in a paper or flyers ahead of time?
Well, I would say this, if it's going to be a major delay, they usually signpost it, either with electronic signage. Usually that's going to say that. So I know our engineer and I meet with them regularly, and we'll make sure that that's taken care of.
Councilman Jones.
But by allowing the construction crews to work overnight, it's obviously going to free up some traffic during the day and maybe make the project go faster. How effective you think that will be? How much time you think that will cut on the project by letting them work overnight?
Well, I think it cuts a significant amount of time off the project, because if this work that's going to go on, what they're trying to do, and there's going to be some impediment to traffic as there was on the first section of the project, but some of this work that's going to go on, it will extend the project days, maybe weeks, depending on the amount of, you know what the traffic is like, particularly during rush hours. And if they had to do that during the normal course of business, not only would there be significant delays for people trying to get to work, but it would extend the cost related to the project. I'm not so concerned about the time extension related to the project, because we're probably talking weeks, but the inconvenience and the cost associated with that would be pretty great. And if I were to, again, if council approves the waiver, then I would, you stipulate your hours between 7:30 and 5, so that then you have the opportunity for folks who need to get to work to not be impeded.
Thank you, Mr. Jones.
Do we have a tentative start date for this project? Do we have a tentative start date for the project?
Right now, it's targeted to begin sometimes in either the late summer or fall of 2017. We're in the midst right now of doing all of, and you've been approving as we've been going along, approving all of the necessary sign-offs. The last big hurdle that we had related to this project was really the year-long fight with SEPTA about the intersection. Now that that's gotten done, they're in the midst now of putting together all of the bid documents so that they can put it out to construction, and they're looking to put it out to construction hopefully no later than the fall of this year.
Thank you. Councilman Carter.
Can you explain?
Put it out to bid, I'm sorry.
Yeah, can you explain exactly what was going on with SEPTA to our council people who weren't here, and our residents?
Certainly. One of the hardest things in the world as local government, and particularly for managers, is dealing with train companies, whether they are train companies like SEPTA or Norfolk Southern or whatever other major ones. They have property rights that are greater than most other entities. And so you really are kind of at their mercy in terms of negotiating the ability to traverse over their tracks and their property, to place signage around their property. And our discussions with them, as council knows, was regarding the first one was really the big issue was signalization at that intersection of Main and Markley. When I got involved in the process after I come on board, there had been, I guess, a tentative agreement where they would remove the mechanical arms that were on Main and Markley and just rely on lights only. And I protested. They plowed ahead. I told them what would happen when they came to council to present that plan, and what I told them was prophetic, because council dusted them off pretty quickly, sent them back to the drawing board saying, no, they insist that there be arms as well. And so in the course of the last year, we've been debating the length of the arms. They wanted to actually have shorter arms. And we were debating that, and it went to their legal versus our legal. And at the end of the day, it was both a combination of the Utility Commission and the federal requirements related to the length of an arm at that size intersection, and it ended up being a requirement that it had to be an extra long arm at that size intersection. And their complaint was that they have to do the maintenance of the arms, and the arms get damaged. And I said, yeah, my response was, welcome to my world. We have to do the maintenance of the roads and sidewalks, and that gets damaged too. And so ultimately they yielded because they didn't have a choice but to yield. And so now it's been designed with both lighting and the arms. And we're satisfied. Our engineers have been extensively involved with them in that.
Thank you, Mr. Jones, for that explanation. Would a member of council like to make a motion to approve the waiver of ordinance 2010-11, noise section B1, to allow limited nighttime work on section 510 Market Street over the 2-year construction period? Between the hours of 7:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. I'm sorry, 7:30 p.m. to 5 a.m.
So,
Second.
they already went through.
Madam Secretary, command roll call, please.
Olivia Brady. Valerie Scott Cooper. Hakeem Jones. Heather Lewis. Derek Perry. Sonia Sanders.
Aye. The ayes have it. That motion is approved. Thank you, Madam. You're welcome, Mr. Jones. The next order of business we have is finance. Ms. Burkett, we have 2 items for you. Would you please begin with item A, a brief summary or explanation of the details?
Thank you, Madam President. What is being presented is a request to consider a motion to approve or disapprove Resolution 16-218 for Form PEMA DAP-2, designation of agent for the Director of Finance to act as designee on submitting forms and filing for funding assistance related to the January 2016 snow emergency to potentially collect funds to reimburse for costs expended during that period. It is required that the forms, should it be considered and the motion be approved, be submitted with original signatures to both FEMA and PEMA. And it is also recommended that we retain 2 copies of the original signature documents because as they go through the process, those forms get separated from the supporting documentation, and they may request additional original signed forms. So what has been presented to you is a request to approve the finance director as the designee and to provide original signatures on 4 copies of the Form DAP-2.
Designation of agent. So, would you like to 21-DR-PF, effective immediately for the 2016 fiscal year.
Second.
Discussion, question? Madam Secretary, may I please have roll call?
Olivia Brady. Valerie Scott Cooper. Hakeem Jones. Heather Lewis. Derek Perry. Sonia Sanders.
Aye. The ayes have it, and that motion is approved. Ms. Burkett, item B, please.
Thank you, Madam President. Item B, disposal of Finance Department records. It is requested that Municipal Council approve or disapprove Resolution 16-130 for the disposal of Finance Department records for disposal, secure disposal, in compliance with adopted record retention standards. Periodically, the Finance Department reviews the record retention standards and has reviewed the stored files and determined that there is an exercise to securely dispose of records that have been maintained greater than the period that the municipal record retention policy allows. Attached to the resolution is an Exhibit A, which details the forms, the documents that would be considered for disposal. They reach back to 2007. There are also some records that are more recent, up through 2013, that have a shorter retention period. It is being requested that this is considered for approval or disapproval because the Finance Department has limited space to retain these records as well. And if we are to remain in compliance with the municipal records retention policy, this would be an action that could be considered.
Thank you, Ms. Burkett. Any questions? Discussion? Madam Secretary, I'm sorry. Would a member of council like to make a motion to approve Resolution 16-130, disposal of Finance Department records? Second.
I got a question. So, just so no one gets confused, the municipal retention records, is that something that Pennsylvania has as a law that makes sure that we can take records that are old and get rid of?
The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania has adopted the municipal record retention policy, and council adopted that. I believe it was, the most recent was back in 2011 is the most recent document, and it was effective with updates through 2009. And council adopted following the record retention policy, and we are acting in accordance with that policy.
The only reason I said that is just in case anyone hears exactly what you're saying, that we're not doing anything that we're not supposed to, or that we're hiding something. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir. And just as an aside, we also retain electronic copies of documents as required. We maintain the originals of our audit reports as required in perpetuity, but other financial records and general ledger copies and printouts are only required for a number of years, primarily 7.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Burkett, for that explanation. Madam Secretary, may I please have
Olivia Brady. Valerie Scott Cooper. Hakeem Jones. Heather Lewis. Derek Perry. Sonia Sanders.
Aye. Resolution 16-130 is approved. My motion passes. The next order of business we have is code.
Thank you.
Mr. Simonson.
Thank you, Madam President. There's 4 HARB certificates that are set for appropriateness at 3 properties. 506 Hamilton Street is a front porch installation. 1037 Green Street is an complete exterior rehab that spells out the windows, colors, and everything. And 134 West Marshall Street has 2. The first one is for windows and exterior upgrades, and the second one is for a roof repair and installation.
Thank you, Mr. Simonson. Any questions or discussion? Would a member of council like to make a motion to approve Harb certificates of appropriateness as follows: 506 Hamilton Street, 1037 Green Street, 134 West Marshall Street. That's on there twice. Okay.
Second.
That motion is approved. Next order of business we have is public safety. Chief, if you could lead us into the public safety discussion.
Thank you, Madam President. I have 2 handicap parking spaces that I'm requesting you to consider. 621 Violet Street, 701 Cherry Street. The residents at those locations have shown a need based on qualifying physical limitations that they're in need of that accommodation.
Thank you. Chief Talbot. Would a member of council like to make a motion to approve Resolution 16-131, handicap parking spaces at 621 Violet Street and 701 Cherry Street? So moved. Second. All in favor? Aye. I'm sorry, that's a resolution. Madam Secretary, may you please have roll call?
Olivia Brady. Valerie Scott Cooper. Hakeem Jones. Heather Lewis. Derek Perry. Sonia Sanders.
Aye. Resolution 16-131 passes. Next order of business we have is planning. Mr. Jones, if you could just give us a little detail about what that entails.
Madam President, I'm going to punt to first Jane and then certainly to the solicitor to discuss the matter.
Thank you. As council will recall, at its last workshop meeting, the developer Progressive Ventures, in connection with Genesis Housing Authority, had requested council support its request to the Norristown Waste Authority for the reduction of the tapping fees. Council then directed the planning department and the solicitors to put together a resolution that would basically memorialize that support. We did that, and we sent the resolution in our package. And I do believe the Progressive Ventures developer is in the audience in case there's any questions that you'd need of her. I do believe there were some developments that the solicitor would like to address.
Yes, Ms. Massagne, I had the opportunity late this afternoon to receive correspondence from the authority's solicitor, Mr. Rudolph. And as our resolution is currently drafted, he had basically said the authority is not currently able to go ahead and move forward with reducing or waiving sewer tapping fees because this project doesn't fit into their criteria. They have passed several resolutions where they will consider giving relief or reduction in sewer tapping fees if something is an alerter zone, a TIF zone, or some kind of designated NIS or state designation. Hearing this and knowing that council is supportive of this project and realizing that with public money involved and the margins involved, that every little penny counts in making a project like this work, but also respecting our authority and realizing that they have current rules and regulations in place, I had made a recommendation to the council president to do 2 things. One is council can consider tabling the resolution that's as drafted, but also 2, making a motion to direct that me and Mr. Jones meet with the authority representatives and work on proposing joint criteria where there is public money involved, such as a state or a local grant, that criteria is developed where the authority and perhaps even the municipality may at times consider waiving or reducing sewer fees or other administrative fees. And we, knowing that there is a tight timeline on this, we wanted to put in that proposed motion that if possible, that Progressive Housing's current proposal could be considered for that kind of relief if that was something that was agreed to and fit within the criteria.
Thank you, Mr. Solicitor. Would a member of council like to make a motion to table resolution 16-129?
So moved.
Second. Madam Secretary, may I have roll call, please?
Olivia Brady. Valerie Scott Cooper. Hakeem Jones. Heather Lewis. Derek Perry. Sonia Sanders.
Aye. That resolution is 16-129. Item is tabled. As Mr. Solicitor stated, we have a second part of this issue. I'm sorry, we have a second part of this instance, and that is for a member of council to make a motion to direct the administrator and solicitor to meet with representatives of the authority to develop joint criteria relating to waiver or reduction of fees for residential projects using state or county resources to include progressive housing ventures and current proposals. So moved.
Second.
Question. Yes, Councilman Cooper.
Can we stipulate that Kilkenny and Jones will meet with the authority and have an answer for us in 2 weeks? Was that too soon?
We intend to do that before then. I assume Mr. Jones is going to reach out to Mr. Thompson tomorrow. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
Well, because this is a new motion, there will be an opportunity for public comment. So at that point, Ms. Peck, you could come up.
How come?
There was a motion in a second.
No. I just got a motion.
Motion in a second. See if there's public comment.
So, do we have any public comments?
Thank you for your revised motion. The logistical issues here are that the sewer authority only meets once a month, and tomorrow's their meeting, tomorrow night. July, unfortunately, I'm going to be away. I'm going to be out of the country. And besides that, that is past the deadline for the grants. So I realize this is very short notice, but this whole thing came up today anyway. Is there any chance you think you could make the meeting tomorrow night with the sewer authority? I realize it's, because I think that's, unless there's some other.
I mean, I can't speak for Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones will read out to Mr. Thompson, and if that's, if there's progress, I'm sure Mr. Jones or I or both could attend.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, no, we could.
Very last minute. Thank you.
With the motion being on the floor. I'm sorry, Councilman. Sorry.
I would love to welcome our new Public Works Director, Mr. Thomas Dembo. Welcome to Norristown. Could we get a little little speech from you if you want? We welcome you. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Let her finish her motion first.
You're right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Hearing none, the ayes have it. That motion is approved. Councilman Perry, absolutely consent.
Welcome our Public Works Director, Mr. Thomas Denbo.
Madam President, Council, the Administrator, Directors, and the distinguished residents. It's with so much joy that I'm talking to you people today. I'm probably about 6 days in Norristown, and I've enjoyed every bit of my stay here. And I want to use this opportunity to thank people that have welcomed me very well here. I want to thank the police chief. I want to thank the finance director. I want to thank the human resource manager. And I want to thank Mr. Jones, too, and then all the council people that I've met. I've started working. Right now, I am at the stage of trying to understand what's going on, and I'm trying to understand the culture of the organization. And so I do not expect to do much in the next 2 weeks. I'm just collecting facts and listening to people. But I like the community. I want to say that. And my wife likes the community too. So I'm going to do my very, very best to make sure I justify the confidence that has been given to me and justify the investment that Norristown is making on me too. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Would a member of council like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting? Second.